All right, we'll now get to some breaking news that is coming in, and lawyers in Chennai registered with the Bar Council are holding a protest against the likely elevation of Mrs. Victoria as the additional judge of the Madras High Court. This even as the Supreme Court hears a plea challenging the elevation. Going straight across to my colleague Sri Papanch, who's joining us live on the broadcast for more on this. Sri Papanch, what are we picking up on these protests by the lawyers that are taking place as of now?
Now, you could, Lango is the lawyer, is one of the lawyers who was involved in the protest against the elevation of Victoria Gowri. Sir, why have you been demonstrating in front of the Madras High Court?
Yeah, we belong to All India Lawyers Union and we strongly condemn the elevation of Mrs. Victoria Gowri as judge of the Madras High Court. As we all know, the Constitution says that we live in a democratic, socialist, secular republic. And as early as in the year 1973, in Keshwananda Bharati's case, 13 judges bench have clearly held that basic structure of the Constitution cannot be amended. When that is the case, socialism and secularism are part of the Constitution and basic structure of the Constitution. And Mrs. Victoria Gowri has expressed strongly against secularism, and hence we do not want her to be appointed as the High Court judge.
Sir, don't you think the collegium must have taken note of it? Even now, as we speak, the hearing is on, and in fact, the bench has been saying that people with political leanings have been made the judges. So, why do you protest? What is your bone of contention over here?
See, the Chief Justice of India, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, has expressed that only he came to know of all these developments after the collegium had recommended her name for elevation. Hence, now, after Ms. Vaihe and Ms. Anna Matthew, they have filed writ petitions before the High Court, and it's being heard now in the Supreme Court. And that's why we are making a protest here, because at 10:35, she would be elevated as a High Court judge, and the only way to make her not to sit as a High Court is the impeachment proceedings. And apart from that, the Supreme Court of India can restrain her from. The Supreme Court of India can stop the High Court from allotting any portfolio to Justice Mrs. Gowri.
Do you think, because Justice Sanjiv, Khanna and Justice B.R. Gavai are hearing this particular case right now, and they haven't expressed any adverse issue about this whole thing?
No, we don't want to.
There is in fact enough scrutiny that has been done before making these recommendations for the appointment. So how do you consider? Do you think that the scrutiny was not done enough?
No, I see. As far as appointment of High Court judges are concerned, it is the Chief Justice and soon two senior most judges of the Supreme Court. They will do it. And the CJI has expressed his opinion now that he has come to know of the developments only after recommending Mrs. Gowri's name for the elevation.
In fact, the collegium has a very detailed process of selecting judges, and in the past also we have seen people, judges with earlier having political leanings were in fact made as the judges, and they have been very impartial towards and while in fact delivering orders. So do you think that Victoria Gowri will not be in fact upholding that particular, because if she's made the judge, when she's being made the judge, she will be impartial is what most of her.
So what we feel is, earlier Justice Ratnavel Pandian was a DMK man and he was elevated as the judge of the High Court, and later he became CJI of India. Similarly, certain people who had political lenience had been appointed as High Court judges, but they did not have strong convictions on ideologies. And Mrs. Gowri has expressed her views about Christians and Islam minorities, and that is why we are opposing that.
Now, Victoria Gowri has taken oath as Madras High Court judge. Now, what is your further course of action?
See, further course we have to approach the Parliament and the members of Parliament to give a proposal for impeachment proceedings. That is the only thing. And request the CJI not to allot any portfolio for Mrs. Gowri.